What if somebody's saying, well, why should the state be putting money into this? Why is this a good investment of tax dollars?
Well, if we don't do it, we potentially lose one, employees at our companies, but two, one of the things that we said is 97% of the companies that invest in their employees retain their employees. It's very important to keep our residents in our counties, in our
Hmm.
towns, in our state.
Yeah, people have a choice where they live, don't they?
Is this valuable to the state of Ohio? Is it a good bang for our buck? Are we getting a return on our tax dollar? Is this a good investment for us? And the bottom line is for the state of Ohio, for people to live in this wonderful state and in our communities, we have to be competitive. We have to make sure that our workforce is trained, that they're productive, that employers want to come to this state and do business because it's a well-trained workforce.
I know Representative Gary Click, one of really the best in the country, of course in the state of Ohio, but across the nation. And yeah, absolutely.
And we're going to have Representative Clickin Klopfenstein for sponsor testimony.
But there's no more local control than Bob and Betty Buckeye.
Well, that explains why he keeps saying, well, that's not the way Representative Click does it.
I'm not supposed to get emotional, but I am.
Then we sat down with Click to discuss his bill and the controversy surrounding it.
And the chair would like to invite Representative Click to present testimony.
The question is, shall the bill pass? The chair recognizes Representative Click.
Welcome back to What's Clicking with State Representative Gary Click. I'm Janae Myers, his legislative aide. Today we are going to be talking about TechCred. Representative, do you want to tell us a little bit about what we'll be hearing?
Well, thank you, Janae. And I've got two wonderful educators from higher education on the podcast today. We've got Bill Taylor, who is at Owens Community College, and then we've got Terry Farris from Terra State Community College, both on the program to talk about TechCred, which is it's an amazing program that the state of Ohio has invested in to help people upscale and upskill their credentials, and helps businesses, helps individuals, it helps economic development. And it's all a part of what we fund here through the state of Ohio. And these men are going to talk to us about it.
All right, let's jump in.
I am so honored to have some special guests in the studio today with me. Bill Taylor from Owens Community College and Terry Farris here from Terra State Community College. Both men doing a fantastic job in higher education. And today they have joined me to talk about TechCred. And so that's something that's very helpful, very necessary, very important in our communities. But first, I just want you to get to know each of these men in case you don't know them already. So we'll start with you, Bill. You and I have known each other for quite a while. Just give us maybe a 60-second little biography of who you are, what you're doing, and so forth.
Um, Spent my whole life in Fremont, Ohio, born and raised a Fremont Ross alum. Been 35 years in higher education, worked both at Terra State and Owens Community College. My family is from the Fremont area as well. We absolutely love Northwest Ohio. So it's a great place to live, a great place to work, and a great place to raise a family. So that's a little bit of my background. I spent 25 years of my career in the classroom teaching both economics and political science, and about 10 years in higher ed administration at both the dean and academic vice president level.
Well, great. Well, thank you for all your work and for your investment in the next generation here in Northwest Ohio. Terry, give us a little rundown on who you are. What are you doing?
Sure. First, thank you for having me on the show and us on the show. I appreciate that. For me, I tell you, my travels have been a little different. When I say that, I've lived in 10 states across the country in
Wow.
working in higher education for the past 25 years. I actually started on the quote unquote dark side in financial aid, but I've moved around and served in various roles from chief academic officer, chief compliance president, et cetera, yada, yada, yada. Now I have the pleasure of serving as the executive director of workforce and community ed at Terra State Community College, but I am a professor for a university too. But I tell you, I concur with Bill. This Northwest Ohio region is just absolutely great. I enjoy living here. I've been here since 2016. Both of my daughters have graduated from schools locally, so it's been a great opportunity to live here and to raise the kids here.
Well, terrific. Well, again, thank you for all that you do right here in our community for our young people
Mhm,
as they start off their adult lives and their professional careers. So today we want to talk about tech cred. So
mhm.
you were giving me a little background before we started, Terry. So why don't you just lead in that? When did it start? And how did it take foot here in Ohio?
Yeah, I tell you, when I look back at it, having been relatively new working with it here at Terrace State, for me, that is, joining in January of 2024, been a very interesting take. Tech credit has been around since 2019. But I found even last year joining the team as we started to go out and talk about tech cred, it's meant for the employers. It's meant for those employers to upskill their employees and get some financial help to do so. But what I found was even last year, it was one of those things where a lot of people weren't taking advantage of it. But last year and this year, it took hold. And so it's been a great endeavor for the companies to be able to train their employees in those technical related areas. And it's been a benefit for us as the colleges because we're able to do so, you know, more easily, right? Because that is
Okay.
always the hard part.
So Bill, is there anything you want to add to that, or maybe even tell us that someone who's
Mhm,
listening, not familiar with tech cred, what is it? What does it actually do?
It reimburses employers for training
mhm,
for their employees,
mhm.
up to a maximum, I believe, of $2,000 per employee per cycle. And the cycles last approximately 2 months. So there's 6 cycles throughout the year. And I believe the maximum award that can be given in a year equates to approximately $200,000 of training that an employer could use. But one of the unique things about TechCred is it's not just for the big employers. It can be for the mom and pop store downtown for them to get some training, maybe some technical training relative to QuickBooks or AI or distribution, logistics, those sorts of things.
Yeah.
So it's really nice tool for the whole spectrum of business to be able to be used. Now, as Terry mentioned, it's been around since 2019, but it got off to a very slow start.
Mhm.
And part of that was because early on, some of the regulations and information that was required for the applications was very intrusive to employers, but it was also asking them to cite things such as what they expect the employee's pay will increase to upon completion of the credential. Um, the state had been very reactive in listening to employers, and they modified and ameliorated some of those early requirements. The problem was is that it had turned off some of those early employers, and they really didn't hop back on the bandwagon of tech cred because they thought that these things were in place. So there's some people out of the governor's office. I believe Lou Cook is our regional
Mhm.
representative in Northwest Ohio, and she's been outstanding in working with employers. I know Tara has put Lou Cook in touch with some folks to help with their applications. She's helped with some chambers of commerce and doing some education, those things relative to the application process that's helped out. So Terry's 100% right. It's taken a little bit of time for it to get going, but over about the last 3 years, it's gained momentum as more
Mhm.
businesses filled out applications. They spoke to other businesses, found out they were using it. So they tested the waters and maybe put a couple employees into Tech Cred and realized, hey, we turned in our credential, we turned in our receipts, and sure enough, within 6 weeks, we were getting reimbursed for that training by the state of Ohio. So it's been an economic boon in terms of education and workforce for a lot of our companies here in Northwest Ohio.
Mhm.
So that's great. I think that's fantastic. And you said a couple things that struck me that that I want to follow up on. This is not a traditional type of education that we're doing with Tech Cred. This is more of certificates for specialized training in certain areas. So you mentioned like a 2 month window frame of certain education, whether it's in QuickBooks or something else. Terry, what are some of the things that people can apply for this? What are some of the
Yeah.
different trainings that you can receive in Tech Cred?
Well, it's very interesting you asked that question because there are over 4,000 different trainings that have been approved over the time of Tech Cred.
Say that again. How many?
Over 4,000. And when
Wow.
you look, again, it's very uh, very open in the type of trainings as long as there is that technology related component to it. For example, there's a training that my team and I constantly talk about where somebody had a Ford dashboard training that they were able to get approved for, something to that extent.
Mm.
Well, because it's dealing with the computer systems and the electronics, etc. And so again, as long as it's going to lead to a valid credential or certificate, right? For example, we do welding technology, we do electrical prints with it, we can do pneumatics and hydraulics training. But the great part is it also works for apprenticeships. So those companies that have those approved apprenticeships can utilize those dollars as well. So really, again, the sky could be the limit because the state is very open to utilizing the funds for helping the Ohio employees that work for them.
So does it matter how large a company is? I think we touched on this, and I just want to follow back and reemphasize some of these things. And Bill, I think you
Mhm.
touched on that. Like, so what are maybe some of the local places that you know of, either one of you, that have used this? It's from the smallest to the largest who are out there using TechCred.
Gary, probably one of the largest in our region is Whirlpool.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And it is unique. With some of the larger employers, there has been a little bit of concern whether or not there could be some modification to the program.
Mhm.
The way that it works with that $200,000 cap is that works off of the tax ID number of the company. So if you're a small company, you can get, potentially up to $200,000 worth of training. Let's say if you've got 100 employees. But let's say you're Whirlpool and you've got a factory in Fremont, you've got another one in Findlay, and you got a couple other around the state. They all have to operate under that same tax ID number, and that limits the amount that they can get per location. So what Whirlpool had gone to was, I know that early on, Tara had done a lot of training with TechCred with Whirlpool. But then the Findlay location said, hey, we want to do that. And they found out they couldn't do it separately. So Whirlpool then had to kind of rotate where they were going to provide those TechCred training dollars.
Okay.
So that's one piece on the larger end. At the smaller end, I'll give you an example. My wife works for Crescent Manufacturing, and they're a significantly smaller manufacturer,
Hmm.
and they use TechCred as well for some of the upskilling of their employees. So size doesn't make a difference, but if you're a large company that may have 10,000 employees and a huge impact on workforce in the state of Ohio, it might be a little bit limiting from their perspective.
Hmm.
Mhm.
But it's still, I took a tour of Whirlpool recently, and I know they were speaking very highly of the Tech Cred program,
Mhm.
and it helps some of their employees to get the training necessary in order to step up their game, maybe get a promotion, and step up into leadership and management in some ways there. And so this is really an economic development tool in our region, actually in our state, isn't it?
Yeah. And one of the things that the state had been asking for the last couple of years was, hey, this is a great tool. What can we do to expand it? So they were going to community colleges, other organizations that provide training and really promoting Tech Cred. It's a phenomenal tool. There's not some of the red tape that's involved with some of the other workforce initiatives. It allows the employer to get involved directly with the state without going through another agency, and that eliminates a couple levels of bureaucracy and makes it easier for the companies, whether it's a mom and pop retailer or a big manufacturer, to work with.
Do you feel
Yeah.
like this is a well-kept secret, or do you feel like, the employers out here know about it? Or if not, how if somebody doesn't know about it and they're like, "Wait, I could probably use some training for my employees, but I really didn't think I could afford it. Didn't think it fit in the budget, but maybe I can get some help doing that." Who should they reach out to? How should they find out more about this?
So they could reach out. I can speak for Tara. They could reach out to my department or anybody here, but primarily my department because we go out to the economic developments. We work with a lot of the chambers and we do presentations, same as Owens Community College does. Owens and BGSU do a lot of collaboration, especially for the Center to Advance Manufacturing, and work together to present it. It was a kept secret to a degree. But finally, like Bill had mentioned earlier, it has really, the word has finally gotten out to the point where now we've utilized the funding for the current fiscal year to
Mhm.
to kind of have to not be able to help some companies until the July 1 new fiscal year happens. But to me, in a way, that's a good problem because it means that
Yeah.
the money's being used now, right? And
Mhm.
again, it's the first time you go through the application process with a company, if you help them, it seems to them overwhelming and a little difficult. But after they get through that first time, they're like, wow, this is actually not that difficult, right? And when you're working with the companies, you can help to say, okay, now we've done the training. Make sure you get your certificates into them, your receipts, your invoices, so you can confirm and get reimbursed. Because you are correct, Gary, when you state companies don't always put money in their budgets right away for training, unfortunately, right? But this is a way to say, hey, if you push a little bit of money out there, you can get it back for the right type of
Okay.
training. And I look at
So
some of the, yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
what if somebody's saying, well, why should the state be putting money into this? Why shouldn't it be the employer's responsibility to invest their own money? Why are we using tax dollars? Why is this a good investment of tax dollars?
Well, if we don't do it, we potentially lose one, employees at our companies, but two, well, again, we live in as I mentioned, I've lived in 10 states. We lose our residents to other states potentially, right? This is a way to try to say, hey, I believe in you as an employee. I'm going to invest in you, right? So that's what we want to do. When I was teaching HR classes, one of the things that we said is 97% of the companies that invest in their employees retain their employees. And that speaks volumes, right? Again, you get more production, et cetera, especially when your employees are happy. But I think, again, in the world we live in now, it's very important to keep our residents in our counties, in our
Mhm.
towns, in our state. And that's one of the ways that I think this helps us.
Yeah, people have a choice where they live, don't they? They
Yes.
don't have to stay here. They can go somewhere else, but likewise, they don't have to stay where they're at if they're in another state and they
Yeah.
say, "Hey, well, there's opportunities here in Ohio." And I'm not just talking about for the average working man and woman, but I'm
Hmm.
also talking for the employer. They want to start up a business. Now, which state is business friendly? Which counties are business friendly? Which parts of
Hmm.
Ohio are business friendly? Who's taking advantage of these things? And employers are looking for these opportunities to upskill their staff, their employees. They're looking for trained and skilled employees. And if we can provide that, and if we can make sure that we're taking advantage of that locally, that boosts our local economy. Am I right or am I wrong?
No,
Well, Gary, you asked this question, and as a former economics and political science professor, I love it
hmm
because the question is really, is this valuable to the state of Ohio? Is it a good bang for our buck? Are we getting a return on our tax dollar? Is this a good investment for us? And the bottom line is for the state of Ohio, for people to live in this wonderful state and in our communities, we have to be competitive.
hmm
We have to make sure that our workforce is trained, that they're productive, that employers want to come to this state and do business because it's a well-trained workforce. And the bottom line is that business, industry, manufacturing is changing at a phenomenally fast pace. Upskilling employees are really important right now, making sure that those kids that are coming out of high school are ready to work, making sure that the workforce that we have has the ability to be upskilled and trained, make sure that we've got a business community in the state of Ohio
hmm
that's generating revenue for the state and spin off businesses for economic growth and development. And the thing that makes this a neat tool that I really like from an economic perspective is the little red tape that's involved for a company to become
hmm
involved in the program. Because there's so little red tape, it doesn't prevent the mom and pop business from
Right.
being involved.
Yeah.
And we can't forget that even though large business is vital to the state of Ohio, small businesses are really where most of our folks are employed.
It's
Whether
true.
we're talking about a family farm, whether we're talking about the businesses downtown on Front Street, the
Hmm.
businesses that are in Woodville, the businesses that are in Gibsonburg, they're all eligible for this regardless of size.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense, and I think that's very important. Is for the small business and for the large. That's what I love about it is it works for everyone.
Yeah.
And I know once in a while we'll hear rumors about is Whirlpool staying or is Whirlpool leaving, and that is really the major manufacturer in Sandusky County, major employer here in Sandusky County, and really one of the major employers in Northwest Ohio. And I've been there and I've talked to their staff, and those rumors come around. But I think our programs here, Terra State, and some of the other local colleges, Owens and even BG and so forth here in Northwest Ohio, make it vital for them to stay, and as well as the TechCred programs are part of the reason. And they love our community. They don't want to leave, but there are always people. There are always. There's someone else out there who is soliciting them to say, "Hey, come on over here. We'll do this for you. We'll do that for you." And if we want to keep our local residents employed with good jobs, a good program that can help sustain them and their families and our communities, we have to provide some resources for them that make that happen. And so I think Tech Cred is just a great thing to help that happen. What did I leave out? What questions haven't I not asked you? Or tell me something, what's going on at Owen or at Terra, something maybe aside from this that just young people ought to know about as far as opportunities ahead.
Well, it's a very interesting world and dynamic we're living in right now. I mean, I could probably go off tangent multiple times, all the different things that are going on. But I will say to kind of stick to this point, and Bill really brought it home a little bit, but to be in the top 5 of
Uh-huh.
states friendly for business in the country, that's a
Right.
big thing for the state of Ohio. And
That's
what that
huge.
allows us to do as colleges, as training institutions, is to be able to try to pivot and be a little more flexible, right? We've been blessed at Terra since before I got here with some of the grants through the state to uh, Bill and I were talking offline about it. Get the new equipment to be able to offer the up-to-date training that needs to be done on beautiful new equipment. It's very funny when you hear companies come in and are like, "Oh my God, your equipment's so beautiful." Well, yeah,
Right.
but now we need to train you. Let us help you.
Right.
Let us do our things. But then the programs like Jobs Ohio and some of the other things that are going on in the state, that has actually helped, especially
Yeah.
Northwest Ohio recently, bring new business in and we can do even more training. So I really appreciate it. And it's very funny. One company comes to mind, and
Uh-huh.
Bill, when it comes to they're a larger company, but that uses the tech cred to its fullest is Grove Industries down towards Lima. They utilize all the money possible they can every year. They max it out. So it's really beneficial for us to continue to have a program like this to help companies like them to continue to be able to do what they do.
Oh, that's tremendous, and I'm grateful that I've been able to play some small part in directing a lot of funds towards Terra.
Absolutely.
Oh, and Bill, you know that over the last a few years because we do believe that is a wise investment of our tax dollars to invest in this
Mhm.
economic development and the training and it's not just young people either. It's people of all
Mhm.
ages, who get some of this training that help them to better themselves, to better our communities, and so forth. Bill, what would you add to the conversation this morning?
Couple things on the Owens front. Um, we're taking steps to address the nursing shortage in the state of Ohio. We have one of the largest RN programs in the state, and this semester we launched our BSN program,
Mhm.
which we recently got accredited, which is a big step.
Mm,
We have a brand new health science facility, $23 million investment that's unbelievable. Uh, in addition to that, in my department, we do a ton of public safety training, both for credit and non-credit. We are one of the largest providers of law enforcement training in the state of Ohio. We also have Toledo Police Department that runs their academy on our campus as well. In addition to that, we are one of 7 locations or 7 regions in the state that is authorized to provide advanced OPATA training for incumbent law enforcement officers that are in the field for their continued education. So we provide that service to all of law
mhm.
enforcement in Northwest Ohio. In addition to that, we're unique in that we have a regional training consortium that we run ourselves that has 88 partners from Northwest Ohio in it. This is virtually every sheriff's department, police department, Bowling Green, University of Toledo's campus security, and we run that consortium to provide training to each other at significantly reduced rates. One, to reduce the transportation cost to send folks to do this training when we've got the experts locally to provide it, and two, to be able to provide it at regional lower rates that save our communities a lot of money. The other thing that's big is our EMT and paramedic program is growing at an exponentially fast rate. The demand for that is huge. If you guys read some of the Toledo papers, Toledo Fire Department just finalized their most recent contract. And part of that is that they're going to require their firefighters to be duly trained as paramedics. So there's a huge opportunity there and a ton of growth that's going on. So that's something I really enjoy, is that, as you know, Gary, that public service, public safety sector.
Well, and it's vital. It's vital to all of our communities. And so thank you for what you do. And at both institutions, you're constantly upskilling what you do, because life is always changing. The world around us is always changing. And our educational institutions have to adapt and stay on the cutting edge. And you do a fine job at that. So I want to thank you for joining me today on What's Clickin'. And we're going to put all your information in the show notes if people want to reach out and contact you about some of these things, and so they can follow up and just get more details. So thanks again. And we'll be back again next week on What's Clickin'.
Thank you.
Well, it was so good to hear from these incredible men in our community and hear about TechCred. Representative, any closing thoughts on this issue?
Well, I'm just glad that we can do that. It's something I think that is making a huge impact for economic development. It's making a huge impact for individuals within our community. It's helping our educational system. And so it's something we need to continue investing in, and I'm going to continue to support in my role as a state legislator.
Well, again, it was so incredible to hear from them. Now, Representative, we have a very special guest on the podcast next
Oh,
week.
yeah.
It will be Liz Baumgartner from the Ohio Chamber of Commerce. Is that correct?
Yes, Liz is just an amazing young lady. She's the tax specialist over at the Ohio Chamber of Commerce, and she reached out to me about the Taxpayer Bill of Rights. And there's sometimes people who are appealing their taxes, and they can get just the current system can get drawn out and drawn out and drawn out and drawn out. And she said, "Can you help us? Please help us do something about this." And so I am working on this priority legislation for the Ohio Chamber of Commerce to streamline the appeals process on our taxes for our businesses here in Ohio.
Well, that sounds incredible. I think we have a little preview for the listeners. Do you want to give that to them now?
Yeah, let's check it out.
Yeah, this is huge for the business community. Economic development isn't just incentives. It's making sure we have a stable tax environment, and that includes tax administration and the system that kind of dictates that. So when companies are looking to evaluate where to invest, whether it's an expansion, a new plant, job creation, they're not just looking at tax rates. They're looking at the overall tax environment. And this is a really important part of the tax environment. And so it's creating predictability, which in turn creates competitiveness, administrative efficiency, which helps our economy grow.
And we want to make sure that the environment in Ohio is a great environment where we can attract economic development, where we can attract companies, where we can attract businesses to invest here. And that's part of what 613 is going to do.
Definitely. Our legislature, I know, has been working very hard to improve our business tax structure over the last decade, and 613 significantly contributes to that foundation and making sure our systems function as intended.
You've been listening to What's Clickin', the official podcast of State Representative Gary Click, covering Ohio's 88th House District. That includes Seneca and Sandusky counties in Northwest Ohio. I'm Janae Myers, his legislative aide. If you would like to reach out to us, you can send us an email at rep88, that's REP88, at ohiohouse.gov, or you can give us a call at 614-466-1374. Thanks again for joining us for What's Clickin' with State Representative Gary Click. We'll be back again soon to let you know what's clickin' in Ohio.